Alright, welcome back to episode 66 of History Rewritten. In the last episode we had, I actually remember some events, because it's kind of easy to see some events. Now Siberia has a coastline that isn't just ice for most of the year, and this one is slightly less icy. The Sea of Okhotsk, it's not amazing, but it's better coast, and you're also going to build a lot of cities here. So I might just put some cities, communism, hello. Socialism. You're effectively communist, mate. And you're going to try to start influencing some of these guys, maybe? Great. More Balkan wars. I love to see. Anyway. Yeah, Russians. Some Russians? I mean, kind of. Near enough. Siberia lost the war against... No. That's a what-if scenario. No. Sakhalin lost the war to the Russians and their allies in the Grey Country, which changed the Grey Country's borders, which is crazy. Although they do look very similar, which is nice because I liked how they look. And we also had the creation of 4 new countries. 2 of them are boring Japanese ones that nobody cares about, and the other ones were this thing, and also finally our newest independent country in North America, the Alaskan one. We've been waiting for so many episodes for Alaska to be independent, and effectively all of North America is independent. Just minus Greenland and minus Puerto Rico. It's all independent. It's all fine. Yeah. We did it, guys. No, we didn't. But those two will probably take a while because Puerto Rico doesn't feel like leaving at the moment. They're fine. I mean, it's not great because things aren't great in the Terracotta Nation. But at least you've got a load of nukes deployed here, which is kind of scary for some people. And Greenland, at the time of like 2009 or 2010, isn't ready to become an independent country yet. That's crazy. But they probably will eventually. Same with Puerto Rico. Just, they're not quite ready yet. Alaska does look cool though. It's a pretty big country. And the Canadians are trying to be like, hey, just imagine, dude. Look at this. This would be... What a crazy union. I think it would look very cool on the map. Look at that. Oh, that'd be amazing. How the Alaskans do not care. The Canadians just want this island over here. No, it's alright. Anyway, otherwise we saw loads of stuff happen in Africa with countries falling apart. We also saw more countries falling apart in Indonesia, socialism, stuff like that. And the Green Team has not done anything for the past 10 years. They've just been completely silent, doing absolutely nothing. Great stuff. So let's go over to East Asia. I've tried to make East Asia interesting, especially Oceania. I'd say I've kind of done that. This looks interesting. So, Sakhalin didn't lose a lot of your economically most important territory. However, it was important like the long run, like oil and resources and loads of free land, and eventually it's going to get warmer, so eventually there's going to be a load of people living here. Global warming, sea level rise, it's all started. I mean, it's been going on forever because that's how the world works. It's a natural thing that happens. But you've accelerated it now because industrialization. Yeah, naughty Terracotta Nation inventing industrialization. And I suppose naughty British, Iberian, and Irish country for picking that up, and then now everyone else in the world. Except for possibly some of these guys who are really not very strong. Like you, or this grey country, or this blue one. Like, no, you're not having a good time. Maybe some of these islands. Anyway, Sakhalin, in response to the fact that they've just been absolutely, torn apart by all these guys, they're going to join the Korean alliance again. And Korea, they're kind of they probably wait a day. They're just like, hey, dude, you remember when you left and we said, oh, you shouldn't do that. It might have bad consequences. And you went, nah, I'll be fine. Neutrality's great. And they're just like, dude, now you come crawling back to us. However, they are really good friends, and the Koreans support them in this war. I mean, I don't think the Siberians are being supported by China, so it's just Korea supporting Scotland, so that was good. And now there's 4 countries in this alliance. That's crazy. Just a really weakened Siberia as well. Oh my god, Sakhalin. I know that the capital's not in Sakhalin. I don't care. They're the Sakhalinese country, and you can't stop me. But yeah, Baikal lost some land. You lost a load of land. You lost some land to this guy, and the Koreans are just... You're losing influence. I mean, the Korean sphere of influence, what does that look like? Probably interesting. I did actually draw it in my own time, because I did the African one at the end of the last episode, and I was like, what's the sphere of influence for all the strong countries in the world? Let's find out. Let's get that up, because I have it in my gallery at the moment. Somewhere. Oh, there we go. Korea, what does that look like? I mean, I know what it looks like, because I made it. I can say whatever I want it to be. Korea, Sakhalin, most of the Japanese islands, it goes around into Kyushu, this bit, and then the North Japanese islands are probably quite pro-Sakhalin, but then also... Oh, wait. Let's redraw that. Yeah, they're also kind of interested in Siberian stuff, because the Siberians caused their independence, and they haven't, historically, loved Sakhalin. Apart from all this, I mean, this stuff is pretty Chinese influenced. We have the southern Philippines. I probably need to draw some more lines. And then it's kind of probably a bit like this. I don't know. This is such a horrific sphere of influence. Oh, and also probably New Zealand as well. Let's just... Yeah, New Zealand. There you go. Oh, and probably... Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. New Caledonia, maybe. This greenish country is contested because it used to be part of the Victorian country, who is a friend of China. Well, they were colonized by China, and they became a Chinese ally. But also they were owned by the Salmon Nation, who's part of the North Australian Alliance. So then, like, they had to give them up because of economic crash. So their government is quite pro-Korea, but then there's lots of people who aren't, because most of them just aren't. So yeah, it's difficult. And then there's other countries who are like pro-Korea. Oh yeah, all these guys as well. Vietnam and Cambodia, you're pro-Korea. It's like 4 different spheres. And China's is basically all the other bits. I mean, China's sphere of influence looks a bit like... Oh, and then the Koreans also have Baikal as well. Oh my god. Korea, this is so disgusting. Yep, so you keep that in your mind. China has a sphere that looks something like this mess. They go all the way out into the pink country. Here they kind of go around here, and they go to this country. Then they probably just like kind of influence this one, not the Javan country. Probably help your independence because the actual old Timor country is part of the Korean sphere. So probably kind of funded that. This greenish country, kind of a bit. The Northern Australian one. And then it comes back around here. So this is also just really difficult to look at, but that's kind of other countries influenced by China. Of course, they're the strongest country in the world, so everyone's influenced by them. However, these are the countries who've got like pro-Chinese governments, except for Northern Taiwan. Let's just... Not those guys. Everyone else in this sphere is. So that's good. And that might become more important in today's episode. Speaking of alliances, though, the Siberians will be adding 2 new countries, including this pinkish one, because you need help desperately. You are very poor. However, we do have like a kind of border down here, and also the Alaskan one. So now Siberia's alliance has moved to North America. This was quite predictable. It's why they didn't join Canada, because they probably would have otherwise. Like, the colonies and Norwegians had very good alliance. Well, good. They were on good terms together, so it made sense, or would have made sense. However, it just wasn't to be. So there's that. I spent far too long talking about that, but oh well. Yes, somehow it went that long. You may have noticed that I kind of did this when I was looking at it. Oh, yeah, you may. When I was doing the Chinese sphere influence. And that's because this area of northern Myanmar is going up an independence as a new country who's pro-China. This is happening quite a lot all around the world. There's lots of pro-Chinese nations appearing. This country is not very strong at all. However, you know what? China likes their friends, so join the crew of pro-Chinese countries. The Myanmars will give them independence after referendum, which is kind of a landslide. This area's, I think it was once the blue country. You know, there's a light blue country over here. This is not the same one. I haven't just forgotten the colour. It's an entirely different country. However, the nationality could be traced back to that country. So that's kind of why there's pro-Chinese sentiment there. And also, you border them, you border all their allies. I mean, it's not nice living up there. And the Chinese promise a much better future for your people. So that's happened, and the Myanmarese look slightly sadder, but they're alright. It's fine. They'll cope. They'll cope. There really wasn't much going on economically, and to be honest, China is probably the better guy to help them rather than Bengal, because China's more about building cities in random spots, like out here. Why are there cities out here? Anyway, let's go have a look at North America, because we're going to have a war. More mountains. Right, Vancouver and California, well, kind of led by California, because California is much stronger, and should have more cities, because it's like 2009, so I'm pretty sure your tourism industry has gone kind of crazy. And by kind of, I mean very crazy. So let's add a whole lot more coastal cities. As for Vancouver, I mean, you've got some points which are probably quite nice. I don't know a whole lot of America, I mean, I kind of do. I don't know loads of stuff about America though. I couldn't name all the states. I don't think I get a lot of them, but not all of them. I know not all of North America is the US, and there is a big old line here. So this is lots of Canada. Because I'm not stupid. I got 196, depending on how you look at it. I think it was 196 in the quiz I did. Countries in 13 minutes. So that is the pinnacle of my achievements. Yep. I'm proud of that. The capital isn't even on Vancouver, it's in like Seattle, but oh well. Anyway, these two are pretty close, they're very close actually. They're both, I don't know if they're layers on, nope. They're both of the Korean religion, nationality, they're colonized by the Koreans, and they're still very, very close, working together. They've been helping each other out economically. Technically, I could make like a North Pacific alliance, because if one of these guys did get attacked, the other would help them. But I just don't want to, because I don't think anyone else is going to join it anytime soon. California will start the invasion by reaching out towards this city. I'm pretty sure there's a load of Rocky Mountains over here. And by Rocky Mountains, I mean the mountains, not just mountains made of rock. That's crazy, isn't it? That's because there's lake. That's what's making me think that. Rain goes down mountains and makes rivers. Yeah. That's something I didn't learn in geography. I just watched new things about mapping, really. Actually, no, it's educational, guys. It's education. So I'm going to reach over towards this city, which is also probably in the mountains. Is Denver in the mountains? I feel like Maze Runner. Is Denver in the mountains? It's in Maze Runner, I think. And interestingly enough, I like reading. That's crazy. Right, so they continue invading into this highly mountainous region. This country recently invaded the Limish one over here, who looks depressed. These guys were also a Korean colony, however they do not care. I mean, it's just easier to mesh them, I suppose. The Vancouver military will reach over towards this city. Over here, that's pretty easy. Whilst California is just going to go, bam! Huge wall of tanks and planes and military personnel just shred through this area. These guys are not having a good day. Not at all. This city's going to be reached, and your cities are very annoyingly dispersed. Why couldn't they all just be uniformed? Anyway, California is going to take the capital very easily. The people will actually kind of submit, because, I mean, would you like to live in the mountains, or would you like to live in the beaches of California? Judging by the amount of people who live in Los Angeles in the modern day, I think it's probably going to be California. So this country is going to surrender over to the North Pacific Alliance. They're not making the North Pacific Alliance a thing. They're not going to take all the territory, because they're not mean like that. Just most of the territory. You know, they need to get themselves more land, prove themselves. Yep. The Chinese also quite like these countries, I don't know. These guys weren't hugely funded by the Koreans, in like historically, since their independence, because Korea had bigger things to worry about. So the Chinese kind of just want to get them into their own influence, so they can go, ha, look Korea, I stole people of your religion. and made them my friends. But yeah, so Korean spies discovered that China was sending a very small amount of money, and just a very exceptionally small amount of money. However, it's kind of like, there you go, here's some money. Look, we'll send you more if you be nice to us and trade with us, because you're both rich, or going to be very rich very soon, and also probably very long. However, the Koreans will also discover something else very interesting, and that is that China has recently been funding other military things, and it's kind of been like independence of this thing. Might have been a few other Chinese people here in that referendum who didn't actually live there. Also had some other possible things in these two countries. But the main one is the fact that China was funding Siberia. And Korea's going to be like, what? You are funding those Siberians? China's like, hey, you were funding Sakhalin. It's like, yeah, it's our ally. So I was like, what if Siberia's our ally? Okay, everyone's like, but Siberia's not your ally. Because although maybe you haven't had the best relations with the Russians, you weren't actively fighting against them for the past 50 years or so. Like, these guys, and kind of these guys, but to a lesser extent, more of these guys. I mean, if you want, we will green team you and make you into a blobby thing looking like this. Well, not blobby, more like spiky. However, China's just going, yep, our leaders have got quite close, the Siberian and the Chinese leaders, and we decided to fund them in their war. I mean, Sakhalin is a pretty old enemy of China, for probably 1,000 years or something. These two have been hating each other. It's like, hey, it's fair, we're allowed to fund another country who's our ally. And everyone's kind of freaking out because they're wondering how involved has this been. And the fact that Siberia just declares war on a very old, quite strong, good links country. Has China been funding the Siberian civil war, like Russian civil war? Were they funding them back then? And there's definitely potential. People did see people who look like they might be from China on the front lines over here, but they kind of just thought, oh, people moving here because living in Russia's one of the best places to live, or at least it was in the 1900s, late 1900s. Early I don't really remember. It was alright, I think. Russia was quite strong back then, even still. Even though it was like, well, most of the world is owned by these guys. Anyway, yeah, people are worried that China might be an awful lot stronger than they thought. If only there was another country who could bring us hope in the world. United States of Brazil. I don't know why I do that voice. I feel like it's the USA voice. It's not. Anyway, these guys. I feel like I've said, oh, they're really strong. They've got a really cool military. Their economy is third in the world. And they're not shown them doing anything except for invading jungle and some mountains. I mean, they invaded this. I'm like, great, got a coastline. Let's build some more cities. About now. Because they've been building up this area quite significantly since they annexed it, and also this bit over here, which is probably a mountain. However, let's actually have a look at their sphere of influence in, not just in general, what's their sphere of influence? So, Brazil's sphere of influence goes all the way, or USB, goes all the way from the south, just up here, goes about around here, over there, kind of influences some of those Mexican bits, and that's basically it. Yeah, that's all. I mean, you saw the Chinese sphere of influence before. That was definitely crazy in this. They had some of these really poor island countries who aren't developing very quickly. I mean, the USB has, under their influence, some of the fastest growing economically countries in the world. Like this one over here, or this blue one, or Peru, or Venezuela, or Colombia, or this bluish one, kind of, maybe. And so these Mexican ones as well, who've got really good possibilities in the future. Even an entire military alliance, which has been under the influence like the Russians and the Red Team. Yeah, I mean, it's not that crazy, is it? So yeah, the USB has a lot of influence over this area, and it is democratizing? Democratizing? I don't think that's a word, but who cares? Democratizing the Americas, mostly South America, South and Central America, Latin America, kind of, because they've got Florida in there, and that's kind of just because Florida's in this area because of their Bahamas holdings. Now, not all these countries are like extremely pro USB. I mean, there's some religious stuff where they're kind of like, I don't like your religion. Some of these countries are more pro-China because of Chinese involvement in there. However, to a degree, they're all pretty pro-USB. They've got more democratic governments, and it is looking good for South America. It's making things a lot better in this area, and that's very positive. So the USB will actually, for like the first time in a major diplomatic event, intervene. They'll be like, well, China, you need to stop doing this. And everyone's kind of just confused because this has really not happened before, where the USB has gone, like, man, deal with it. This is just so far away from the old world where we've got so many ancient countries who are important and more ancestral stuff, and now the USB is just kind of going, stop. And they'll probably be actually going like this direction. Anyway, China doesn't know how to react because they've not done a whole lot of talking with the USB, and they're kind of just imagining they're not there because the Chinese government is afraid of the USB, and how quickly their economy could grow. It's a fast rate. And the influence they could steal from the Chinese. I mean, they've got influence in the Pacific, and there's lots of dark blue religion countries like the USB in this area. They could definitely steal away a load of that. I mean, they're also good friends with the African religion, which isn't going to help a whole lot, but might make you more friendly with these guys, because the Andaman Islands is the North African religion, so I don't know. Yeah. And they keep trying to stop funding these various countries and stuff, to leave this business alone. Do you remember what happened when other countries started doing like Cold War things against each other, with nukes competing for that? Except you're an awful lot stronger, and I think that's going to bring lots of death and destruction to this area. I mean, it's nice over here, lots of cool animals and stuff, and I just drawn loads of black lines over it. That was not helping you see. It's just like, you see this area right here, this bit, yeah. What am I talking about? Anyway, so they're like, you need to stop doing that right now, or else I will bring my entire continent over. I tell you what. Yeah, Brazil has been gathering more allies. I mean, they have the Peruvian country, the light blue Amazon one. Amazon delivery. The green one over here, this bluish one even to an extent, and sort of like Venezuela a bit. This greenish one because they're kind of dependent on all three of these guys. And like that, the pink one and this purplish one. The yellow one's kind of distant because they already had a lot of trade with China before the USB became really strong. So, yeah. But you guys didn't really, because the Chinese didn't have a load of ports to go to down here. So you kind of traded more with Africa. I mean, Brazil does have influence on Africa. It's mostly in like this sort of. Oh no, probably more like this sort of region, because that's the same religion as theirs. Maybe also a bit over here, so that's something, but not really that important because this is more like Senegal and the Moroccans and the Algerians' influence. So yeah, if Brazil becomes really strong, they could definitely steal that influence from them. So we'll have to see with that in the future. How about we look at some stuff in South America though, because I've been yapping for like 6 minutes now. The Colombians are going to be launching an invasion of a slightly controversial country, that country being the Panama Nation. Now, Panama, you've had a very interesting time. You were a colony of the Swedes for a very long time. And then you got your independence after lots of funding from the communist green country back in the day. 1980s, was it? Anyway, from there, these guys took some land from you, and then in World War III, the green team wanted you lot to try and eliminate these guys, because it was going to be an easy kill. However, Nicaragua joined and helped these guys out, which made their alliance much better. They were much better friends, because they had been fighting against each other for absolutely ages. So they took more land from you, and now you're quite crippled. However, economic growth is fine, because you own the Panama Canal. Guess who else likes to own the Panama Canal? Colombia. So Colombia is going to launch an invasion into the Panama country, just because controlling the Panama Canal is going to really help your country. I mean, drug trafficking and stuff, that happened a lot in Colombia, and still does. I mean, the USB tried to close it down, but I mean, a lot of the stuff is kind of grown here, so you don't really need to take it anywhere if it's already here. Grenada, I think, still has some islands over here. This one should be Grenada's, but apparently it's not. And also, I mean, the Terracotta Nation is right over there. The Swedes might also have some islands, and the Irish definitely have some islands somewhere. I have to find them. Island, where are you? That's meant to be Irish. Because the Irish bought all of the remaining Catalonian islands and just come like, thanks, cool. Islands, nice, I love islands. The Iberians are also over here, but I don't think anyone's going to bother to go over there. The Terracotta Nation is over here. I mean, Istria's down here. Don't think anyone's going to bother to go. Oh, no, not down there. Down here. Yeah, no one's going to bother to go to Antarctica to traffic drugs. Any others? Probably somewhere. This might be like British over here. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, are these islands Swedish? I think they might be Swedish islands. Yeah, those are some Swedish islands. So there's that. What was I talking about? Panama Canal. I'd like to own it to improve the economy of your country. Also moves a lot of people away from growing drugs for their only means of living. Over to doing stuff on the canal and improving industries like tourism and stuff like that. And the invasion is going very well. Panama has, although they're doing well off the canal, they're not doing great. Just because if you were in World War III, you had this sort of weird communist socialist government. Reparations to these guys for the tons of people you killed in Costa Rica and eventually Nicaragua, but oh well. However, the USB doesn't really want the Panama Canal getting in the hands of the Colombians, and that's because Colombia's been a very unstable country recently. I mean, in our real world, some of the South American countries are quite unstable. It's just that no wars really happen ever since they got their independence. It's been like peaceful. It's more to be internal issues rather than external issues. However, Colombia's had some radical governments. That's radical, do you? No, not like that. Radical governments since their independence. I don't know what I'm on, but it's crazy. They had some radical governments since their independence, and they're worried that it's going to do something crazy with the canal, like put some huge taxes and things on it, and that scares the USB because they use it a lot. I mean, you can trade through the Pacific, you can trade through the Atlantic, so maybe you don't use it a lot, but it is important though. If you want to go quick away to these guys, and you need influence on the Caribbean as well. That's a very important region, and they're doing lots to help countries here. There was an earthquake recently that I recently made up about 5 seconds ago, and the USB helped out a lot of people affected by this huge earthquake that looked just like this. And you know, lots of people would have died if it hadn't been for USB support. So go USB, cool guy. So they get the Costa Ricans to invade Panama too, and Panama's like, dude, leave me alone, this is the third time. However, Costa Rica is going to rush into their capital city, right on the canal. However, Colombia will reach it first. Their military is not the worst. It's probably not as good as our one-day Colombia was in 2009, but also they were having a civil war back then, I think. It was something paramilitary, so fun. Not fun at all. And the Colombians are going to get into the capital about the same time Let's do this, shall we? About the same time the Costa Ricans arrive, and that's some fun, isn't it? So what are the options open for Costa Rica? I mean, you have a border on the Panama Canal, I think. They're going to try and help the rebels slightly. They managed to push closer to the Panama Canal. It's difficult. You've got a tiny bit on it, so like the upper end is split. However, on this lower bit, it's all just occupied by the Colombians. So yeah, now the Panama Canal's got a huge issue, and Costa Rica's like, dude, I will actually invade you with the rest of the other 3 members of my alliance, and the backing of the strongest country in the Americas, the 3rd strongest country in the world, if you don't give me that tiny bit of territory right there. So one side of the Panama Canal, we border, and the other side, you border. And the Colombians, like intelligent guys, are going to say, alright, yeah, okay. Now some people are going to continue fighting. There's going to be like a rebel group in their army that continues fighting. How the Costa Ricans destroy that, because Costa Rica is stronger than it looks. When I created Costa Rica, I did not intend to make Costa Rica so like strong. I don't know, I was looking for a different word. I did not find it. But apparently they are really strong now, so that's fine. Panama is gone. Yeah, they could have set up what's it called a puppet Panama government, but they just went, nah, I'd like the Panama Canal actually. So they're going to have to share it. I mean, sharing the Panama Canal does not sound easy. We'll see how that goes. Probably not well. But I mean, it's kind of a successful thing for the USB. People discover the head of the USB, like the Prime Minister, set this all up. Like, well done, dude. You helped keep world peace. And made the borders look interesting in South America. And also got rid of the Panama country, who I kind of liked. You know, you help preserve balance on the Panama Canal, and you help trade and stuff. It's very important. And all that sort of thing. You're helping out a good alliance that's been doing good Western things and helping with the earthquake that happened in Caribbean. Yeah, I mean, what a good guy. So people are starting to be praised, and the Chinese are going to kind of start a slander campaign against the USB. What a good, nice guy. And the Koreans they start their own slander campaign against the Chinese. And then Siberia starts a slander campaign against the Koreans, which causes Russia to start a slander campaign against the Siberians, which causes the Green Team. And it was like, whoa, Green Team did. Comedy retract. None of that made any sense. Except the Chinese stuff. The Chinese do start a slander campaign against the USB, and people are kind of just like, oh, that's just mean, dude. You're mean. However, you are the strongest country in the world, so we're not going to do anything about it. Anyway, in today's episode, the USB have closed the gap between them and Russia, so that's cool. And I would like to have done some stuff in Africa, but also this episode is coming to a close. So, one last thing, we're going to split up another country. And it's not going to be a huge thing, it's going to be kind of Cameroon. As I think I showed it, or at least I hope I did, in the Swiss influence, I forgot the words. Swiss influence of Africa, the Moroccans influence a load of this stuff. Whilst the Senegalese, and also through extension the Algerian sphere of influence, is basically all the coastal guys over here. However, Nigeria is split with the Cameroonian parts of their country and other bits, I don't know, bits next to Cameroon, being part of the Moroccan sphere. Mostly these northern bits, but oh well, they take the rest of it. And that's kind of it, really. They just get their independence as a country. So, boom. Let's make another one looking like this. Cameroon will put its capital city probably in the south. Economy. But yep, it's a very highly Moroccan influenced country. But this does move Nigeria closer to Senegal, and then through extension of this guy. So that's good, because Nigeria's population is very high. They have lots of potential to become really strong. I mean, I don't think they're as strong as our Nigeria was at this point. That's because they have more territory that's desert and less territory that's useful, and also less in the actual timeline, the Lagos River colony I think was set up in 1847. I don't know. I researched this ages ago. This time we had 1885. The Norwegians came in and helped your country. That's not the same as the strongest country in the world. Norway was strong. Yeah, they were in the top 10. That's pretty good. I don't know why I keep drawing numbers, but oh well. However, they weren't the strongest country in the world, and they hadn't been there for ages, building up a really huge, highly populous city as Lagos. And then for some reason you put your capital in Abuja, I think. At least I hope. Why? I don't understand. So, yeah, it's interesting. People are really not sure what's going to happen in the future of Nigeria and where they really are, but oh well. I just kind of blanked out for a second because I was thinking about power rankings and trying to remember if I got the history stuff right for Nigeria, but that's probably a good time to end this episode. Yeah, our mission, make Africa interesting, and then we'll get over to these guys, but by the time we've made Africa interesting, these countries are going to be really developed, so they'll be in a good spot to be really interesting. But, I mean, I tried to make it interesting here, and the USB is over there. We just need stronger countries in South America, so yeah, see you again next time. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.